the doors were extremely difficult to operate. The fasteners that fastened the doors were old and were problematic for FOD. And access to the pod was difficult when the pod was loaded. So all of these factors contributed to the maintainer having a difficult time to do his job, which is at the end of the day what we want to prevent. Another problem was the fact that the other travel pod had no feet, the old travel pod. So the pod would get set on the ground and roll around and get damaged pretty easily, and it had no stability for loading and or for storage. With the old travel pod being a converted napalm canister, it was heavy. It was aluminum and steel construction, which made it heavy and also reduced the ability to load a lot of materials into it from a loading standpoint. So our pod is made out of composite graphite, and we made a lot of the features advanced materials so that we could also save weight and have advanced functionality. So we designed the new pod to have very large doors so that it could you could put large items in, chocks, toolboxes, LRUs for the aircraft. Very much a focus for expeditionary. Maintainers need to take stuff on the road in case they're in an austere environment. We designed it so that it was, again, carbon fiber, so that it matched the advanced materials of the new aircraft that are coming out. And we also maximized the space that was used inside the travel or inside the weapons bay, which is where the travel pod is carried on the F-35. So we maximized storage space and optimized strength to weight ratio using composite construction. It's a lot more accessible. The larger doors give the maintainer some options in loading up the pod while it's installed. The old pod had one door that was extremely difficult to load at angles. With 3 doors that we've installed on this travel pod, we have a lot of options for the maintainers to be able to load it while it's installed in the aircraft. So the maintainers can load the pod outside and then upload the pod into the aircraft, or they can load the pod into the aircraft and then install items while it's loaded into the aircraft. And that is a great versatile touch that we installed into the pod, so that last minute items such as any tools, chocks, aircraft covers, or anything that the pilot needs to put into the pod last minute before he takes off can be easily loaded into the pod. Repairs of the old pod were often welding operations or old school sheet metal repairs that were difficult. The TOs to try to find that repair were hard to find. So our design will offer advanced materials and fully sustainable tech data support, and repair procedures will be delivered with the pod. We also designed the inside of the pod to be configurable. So we have tie-down points that are adjustable, and you can reconfigure different sizes of loads and move the tie-down points so that the cargo straps can tie down those different sizes and odd-shaped items, whereas before there were 2 mounting points in the old travel pod that could not move, so you basically had to work around those 2 points, whereas with our design you can move the locking mechanism to whatever size you need. So life will be a lot easier with this pod for the maintainer on the flight line due to a couple factors. We've designed it with the advanced materials to match what the 5th and 6th gen aircraft will be made of, advanced composites. It has larger doors, it has configurable mounting options for the inside, has updated latches and handles so that the pod can be carried. And finally, we installed feet on it so that when the pod is downloaded and set on the ground, it will not roll around.